pull up a cup of coffee, and let's get this party started.
We're the uplines you didn't know you needed, but now you have.
This is the podcast for women who are building a direct sales business, but want to do it the right way.
Melanie has a decade of experience in direct sales. She's earned the top in industry 4 years in a row and has grown a multi-million-dollar organization. She gives a no BS approach to leadership, recruitment, and organization.
And my bestie Katy has you covered with the rest. From the relationships, the do's and don'ts of branding, her content has been viewed by millions. She doesn't just talk the talk, but she teaches people how to create an intentional brand too.
All right, let's get this party started. Well, hey everyone, it is Katy and Melanie of the Direct Sales Done Right podcast. I don't know why you're laughing already, but we have
throwing you off.
Yeah, a little bit. But we have a fun episode today because we are actually going to be talking about somebody that you may or may not have heard of. Have you ever heard of Taylor Swift?
Never.
No. Never heard of her. I
find her fascinating.
I do. And we're going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about one aspect of her life. So we are not going to talk about Travis Kelce today.
Yeah.
We are not going to talk about any of that.
Crazy.
What we're actually going to talk about is the team of marketers that she has working behind the scenes on making Taylor Swift a brand. And these are going to be some tips that we want you to bring into 2024 because these strategies are ones that are relevant to you. They matter to your brand too, because the things that she is doing and her team is teaching her how to do, we're going to teach you how to do today too. Because when we shift this up a little bit and we really put the emphasis and focus on our audience versus on us, it makes a huge difference. And yeah, Taylor Swift is the name of the brand. She is Taylor. But at the end of the day, people care about Taylor because Taylor shows up to care about other people. So we're going to walk through some of those things today. But before we do, why don't you talk a little bit about the listener of the week?
I sure can. So
do you not have the same paper as me?
You know, I did print off all of the outlines when I came here, but they fell on the floor. So they're all in the wrong order.
Okay.
And I had no staples in my stapler. Actually, there were staples, but it was like jammed and
yeah,
it was a thing. Okay. It was a whole vibe this morning. So our listener of the week from social media, and we do this every single week, we pull a listener. So if you tag us on Instagram, so at Katy Writes Content, at Melanie Mitro, tag at Chic Influencer. That's where we pull from. We pull a listener and we will give you a live coaching session in the DMs. And it's short, but you can ask us a question. We'll give you some feedback. And we do this because we really want you to share the podcast on your stories, and we want you to tell us what your biggest takeaway was.
Yeah.
We really enjoy getting to know you guys. And it also helps the podcast get found by other people who are in the direct sales industry. So this week, Karen _ it's not hat one. Not a tone. Not a tone. Not that tone. Not that one. Not that one. Karen, I butchered the listener of the week. So there we go. We're going to move along. Just send us a message on
no
Instagram.
Idea you can see us right now, but that was great. That was very good. You know that song, like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm going to let that be your theme song today.
I'm just going to go with it. Sometimes I don't have it all together. Tried to figure that out real fast in my head before the words came out. Not fast enough.
But to your credit, right before we started podcasting today, we were actually having a conversation about what we would do in another life or what we would want to relearn. And Melanie dropped the ball that she actually wants to be a fashion blogger. And she went on a spiral of all the things that she would do. And I am all but certain she is going to pack up and go be a fashion blogger next week. But we totally digress. We're just having a little bit of fun because this is a fun episode.
Yes.
I know that I love talking about some pop culture, but I also really love talking about how it connects back to what we do as marketers as well. One of the things that I talk about all the time on social media is it isn't so much that you're developing a personal brand, niche down, all those things. It's being intentional about the brand that you are creating. And to be intentional means that you're thinking about your audience on the other side. So if you want to talk about some mind-blowing stats about somebody who has built an intentional personal brand, let's talk about that. Taylor Swift's achievements in 2023. Her concert brought in $13 million per night.
That's crazy.
Every single show. Another one. Approximately 72,000 fans are in attendance at every show. 2.2 billion has already been generated in ticket sales for North America. She's made over 100 million in global pre-sales. 146 dates have been announced in 5 continents. And there is a concert film, which my son and all of his friends went to see, is being shown in 8,500 theaters in more than 100 countries. So we have to think about this era as a mindset. And when we think about that, we think about how she shows up and serves her ideal audience. She shows up and she serves her community, and she does it in a way that makes you feel as though you are being seen by Taylor Swift herself. And you might not realize this, but if you have 100 followers, if you have 1,000 followers, if you have 10,000 followers, you have an influence on people. And when you show up confidently, like your showing up matters to somebody else, it actually changes the way that you show up in your own brand. And when you really think about, like, what does that confidence look like? What does that energy look like? How can I bring that Taylor Swift sort of era to my own platform? We wanted to give you a couple tips on that. So that's what we're going to be diving in today. We're going to give you a 2024 era strategy.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I love it. Let's do it. So
are you ready to dive into this?
I am. And here's what's actually going on in my head. Is it era or era?
I probably mispronounce it because I do that with other words too.
Okay. So
but I have like a little bit of a accent, I think.
Where would your accent?
What's
the
I'll
origination of your accent?
I don't know, but people have told me I pronounce words weird all the time, and I don't really know that I do it. Let's actually do that as another
episode.
I don't
When you say Shakeology, how do you say it?
Shakeology. I knew that was going to be the one because
Shakeology.
I've been made fun of for years by my upline sponsor in the body business that I was a part of. And I am recovering from that. So let's dive in though. Era.
Okay.
Potato. Let's go. Number
On
one.
another note. All right. Number one. I like this one. You got to be for the people.
Yes.
This is such a big one today, and just in general. It's not whether you're an influencer. It's not whether you're a network marketer. It is, I mean, you see Taylor doing this.
All the time.
It is not about, like, even though people are like, look at you, you're amazing, you are incredible. But she has this way of making it about other people and about them. And so let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So one of the things that we teach in the Direct Sales Done Right community, in our academy, it's in the book, is this concept of using inclusive language. And I dive into this thought process of most influencers, especially network marketers, they show up immediately and use the I, me, my content. And I, me, my content isn't inclusive. What you're doing when you're talking about yourself and sharing a story about yourself, but you're not actually thinking about how is somebody on the other side of the screen perceiving this content and what is it actually doing for them?
Yeah.
That's when we need to kind of look at our content and say, okay, how can I write this? Even if it's my Staples story or the story of how I got started in my business, how can I actually use this story to encourage somebody to take action? So there are little things that we can do. We can actually look at our content and say, okay, can I use the word we? Can I use the word you within the content, even while I'm telling my story, to make them feel like, oh, it's like she's speaking right to me.
Yes.
The second thing is being aware of what they actually come to your platform for. So we're kind of moving out of this sort of influencer, I follow them because they give me like the Amazon deals of the day. No, you probably follow an influencer for a very specific reason. So let's talk fashion for a second. There is a very small chance that I am following somebody as an influencer in fashion who doesn't have a body type like me. Because actually I'm following that influencer because I look at how she wears certain clothes and I'm saying to myself, I wonder how that would look on me. And that works well because she's serving me. She's serving me content and I'm there on the platform for a very specific reason. It's not about her. It's about me.
Yeah.
Your audience is doing the same thing. So if all you're doing is talking about your business, your products, your sales, your company, your audience is like, well, what's the purpose of me being here? What's the value that this person is adding to my day, to my life? So you really want to be aware of how people are consuming your content. And one more point to just make that I love about Taylor Swift is she does music uniquely. She does it her own way. She has been saying for so many years, and this is what has allowed her to really impact generations of people, is she knows that she serves uniquely. She's not threatened by other people's talent. She roots for other people to win. She's in the stands cheering them on as she's singing their ballads and their music, but she owns confidently what she brings to the table. And I want to ask you the same question. Do you own what you bring to the table? Do you know how you do business a little bit differently than the people around you? Or are you looking at other people's content going, ooh, maybe I need to do it more like this. Or I like how she did this post. Maybe I need to be more like that. And before you know it, you have this little cluster of all these different content ideas and none of it sounds like you. It's one thing to be inspired by content, and it's another thing to feel like you can't quite get it because you forget what your own voice is. And really stepping into how do I serve, and really allowing yourself to say, it's all about my audience. I'm showing up for them. It comes back and it blesses you in return.
It does. It really does. I love that. It's such a great point. I find that we, as new direct sellers, for sure, we like to borrow other people's confidence. We like to try on other people's brands. We kind of look at what the top in the industry are doing and say, I'm going to do it that way. And so I want to just challenge you wherever you're at on your growth journey is to really always say, is this authentic to me? Is this like how I would show up in real life? Is this something I would say or do? Because if it doesn't feel authentic to you, it's not the right thing for you to do. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're figuring it out, because it's a journey of self-discovery. And as your brand matures, as your business matures, it does evolve and change as well. So the second one, all right. So being in Taylor Swift's era and how she's just made such an impact and influence and a movement. I know we're not sure if it's era, but the second thing is really listening to your people. So how does Taylor do that in a really significant way?
Okay, before I get into what Taylor does, I want you to look at what you're currently doing.
Okay.
Couple things with listening to your audience. Are they speaking to you is the first question. So do you get comments? Do you get responses in polls? Are you actually talking to people, or are you just putting out content? Because it's a different vibe when you're actually in communication with your community. Taylor Swift and her marketing team are in communications with the community. And well before you have a large, massive following, this starts with 1 follower, 10 followers, 100,000, whatever it might be. You really have to be in tune with what are they trying to tell me. So one thing that we encourage you to do is, first of all, get out your direct sales done right planner and get into your insights. Actually take note of what your audience is telling you, the things that they like to see from you, the things that they don't, the things that they're engaged with. I'll give you an example of how this looked in real time. One thing that I wanted to test out was, man, I'm looking at all these direct sellers and their bios make me kind of want to cringe. I could tell that they were like cat moms, and they were just kind of like, you know, they had like Disney lover and all these different words. And I'm not calling anyone out, but I realized there's a weakness. I saw that there was a weakness in the market. So I did a post and I just said, I'm going to actually put out this IG bio guide that I created, and actually Alyssa helped me create it too. And I put out this IG bio guide and it blew up. And then I took it a step further and I was like, I actually want to see what they're doing. So I did another post and I was like, comment below bio and I'll actually give you real-time feedback. And the post itself, interestingly enough, I had to shut off the comments because so many people were responding to it, but I did my best to listen to them and say, here's some advice for you. Then I realized I can't respond to everybody. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to go into my stories and I'm going to talk about an IG bio, and I'm going to give examples of people who actually wrote the word bio. And I would say, here's what I would do differently. And so I was very value added. And what happened was my email list grew, or our email list grew by hundreds because of that. Why? Because I listened, because I was in tune with what the need was. I saw what the problem in the industry was, and I realized I have a solution for it. So one thing that I want you to be aware of is Taylor knows that she cannot go and have conversations with every single one of her fans, but she wants every single one of her fans to feel seen and heard. So I want to just share with you around the holidays, of course, this is great. So during her Swiftmas initiative, Taylor selected and sent gifts to fans. Each one was unique to the fan. I want to emphasize that, based on their behaviors and social media interactions with her account. This personalized act of kindness showed her team's deep understanding of her audience while fostering a sense of community and loyalty among her fans. This resulted in a ton of positive word of mouth, fan-generated content, not to mention a brand experience beyond her fans' wildest dreams. Can we just take a minute and see what a big deal that is? Her team knew enough that the problem was she couldn't get to everybody. They knew that, but they said, what if we get to certain people and we actually allow that to be an experience where we are sending them a personalized gift and they are going to then share it. What an experience that brings to everybody. Everybody felt like they were a little bit of Swiftmas because they're seeing real life fans be impacted by Taylor. To me, the marketing behind that is genius. My question is, how can you recreate that in your brand? Whether you have 1, 100, 1,000, can you create that sort of experience where people go, wow, I feel really seen and heard by her? Because if they feel seen and heard, they're more likely going to want to be served by you.
Yeah. You could easily, if you are in skincare, if that's your business, or makeup, you could easily do that. You could give away some product, and you could do some sort of giveaway where people are tagging or engaging, and then you literally go into the comments, look at the person, decide what the best product suggestions would be, and send them a gift.
Yeah.
Right? Like things like that. Maybe you would typically do sample packs that you send out, but you could put it together and explain it, and that would be a great way to get your product into the hands of people that are actually showing up on your social media.
I love it.
You know? I really love that. All right. So the third. You know, friends, do you ever just get out of bed and think you should have just stayed in your bed that day? But today
it's just math.
It's just math. Is it? Because, man, I thought I was doing okay until I started doing podcasts today. So telling stories is such an important part of, you know, of how you build a brand, and really how you kind of step into people becoming a part of the story. I find that a lot of people speak at their followers, and they, you know, almost like a shaking the finger.
Yeah,
you
tell
know,
them what
like
they need to do.
You need to do this, and you should do that, and they also talk in like they kind of talk above people. And so when people give advice and they talk about what you should do and how you should act and the decisions you should make, it just feels very like you're preaching at me. But what you can literally accomplish the same message, but interject your story in there.
Yeah.
And if you start to give advice, you need to really relate to your audience. You have to tell a story, and you can do it in a way where then you kind of make that transition to here's how I can serve you, here's how I can help you. But when people feel a connection to you and they know that you're human and you're not perfect and you've had real life experiences, it's setbacks and obstacles, they're bought in. But if you don't tell stories, they're not. It just really is, it becomes she's just speaking theoretically and really doesn't have any value to offer.
Yeah. A story that's relevant. And you may be saying, okay, but Katy, I thought you said in a previous podcast, I don't use I, me, and my. Here's the thing. If you're using I, me, and my, you still need to make your reader feel included. When Taylor writes a lyric, when she writes a song, she is writing it from her perspective. But when we hear that song, we are living it out in our own perspective. So example, Shake It Off, one of the most popular songs that she has created. we're thinking about what do we need to shake off? What do I need to just like kind of go, it's fine. Like, I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah.
We're not thinking, I wonder what at this very moment, Taylor Swift is shaking. I mean, I guess if you're obsessed, I mean, like, I think that you might be, but you're really thinking about the impact of the story in your life. So when you as a marketer show up and you tell stories, if you're doing it in a way where you're including the audience, they're not thinking so much in your story. They're seeing themselves in the story. So one of the things we teach here at Chic Influencer in our academy, in our book, I'll be teaching it soon in something else that's coming, is we have to look at how does my staple story of where I was before I started in my business or started using the products, how I had my aha moments when I knew that it was the right fit for me, and where I am now because of it. What we're doing is painting a picture of possibility for where somebody is sitting in the before. And we're giving them our walkthrough of how we can actually help them on their own journey. The second time I tell people to do this is when they're developing case studies. And there's an entire podcast episode that we'll share in the show notes where we actually walk through case studies. And case studies work the same way. You walk through how a client of yours or a team member of yours was in a struggle, or they had a deep desire of some sort. And what happened that they said, okay, I'm ready to make a commitment, ready to make a change, ready to use the product, or ready to sign up. And then ultimately where they are because of it. But what's important in the case study is you position yourself as the guide to help somebody get where they currently are. And what people start to do is they start to say, you know what, why this is so, like, her content is great. She makes me feel things that I can do for myself. She makes me feel empowered. She equips me. She's teaching me. She's educating me, whatever it might be. Taylor is doing the same exact thing. She is making you feel so seen and understood in the lyrics that she creates.
Yeah.
That is a gift to be able to give that to people. And you're going, I don't feel like I do that. It might be a good idea for you to actually work with somebody who can help you do that. And I'll just say, like, hi, it's me. I do this for a living. So that might be a good idea. So telling stories matters, but the way that you tell them is important.
I love that. All right. So let's talk about the last
one. Oh, this one's good.
Yeah. Being willing to adapt and to change, which is very hard for people.
It is. It is, especially in branding. And I hope I have permission to not make anyone feel called out, but to make you understand and to see that your story is powerful and it matters. But if we're still using the tactics that we used prior to 2020, they're not working.
Yep.
We cannot create Kardashian style content and expect people to go, oh, like, it's like she's speaking to me. Taylor Swift actually embeds people into the story. She actually makes people feel seen and heard. So if you're just posting about yourself, if you're just posting about your products, if you're just posting about your workouts, and you're going, why isn't anyone buying from you?
Yeah.
It's probably because you haven't made them feel the feels. You haven't made them feel anything. You haven't given them a reason to purchase from you. So there are three types of content that we talk about here at Chic. It's the brand awareness content, engagement content, and sales content, because we're marketers. We're not afraid to sell. I don't want anyone afraid to sell on their platform. You should be endorsing what you do as well. But there's also sometimes a little bit of ego involved in the good old days of social media. We don't want to let go of it.
Right.
But my question for you is, are you duplicating the strategies that you use to grow and expecting your team to see good results, and they're just not? When your team cannot duplicate your way of creating content, of getting more engagement, of increasing their sales and signups, maybe it's time for you, if you're a leader, to actually go, all right, something needs to change so I can teach it for my team too.
Right.
So there's a willingness to just adapt. And the name of the game this year is Keep It Real. And I put it as like REEL on social media, paying attention to things like your trends and your watch time. And you also want to pay attention to, did a conversation get started? Did I actually have somebody inquire? Did somebody write the word bio underneath? Because all of that gives us clues into how can I serve better.
Right.
I keep saying the word serve. Serve, serve, serve.
Well, and that is really what people want
Yeah.
right now is people want to be served. They want you to see them. They want you
Right.
to hear them. They want to know that they matter. They want to know what you're going to give to them.
Exactly.
There is a lot of options out there for, people to buy, whether it's skincare, it's makeup, it's fashion, it's wellness. And so people are very skeptical
Oh, yeah.
and guarded. And so the way you build a relationship, the way you build trust is by serving people. And if it is the I, me, my show, you're going to have a really hard time closing sales because people don't really know what's in it for them. They don't know what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
You
I
got
love
to
it.
keep it real. Yeah.
All of this is so good, you guys. We love helping you and supporting you in your direct sales business. And we know just how important it is to build a brand that feels good, but also impacts other people. So if you are interested in knowing more about how Melanie and I can better serve you through the services we offer here at Chic, go ahead today and click those show notes and see if anything is really speaking to you. And also too, don't forget to tag us on Instagram.
Yes,
because we
for
love doing those little coaching sessions.
We do.
And if you guys tag us, if you tag the podcast, we may pick you for
I
one.
love it.
Okay.
All right, you
All right,
guys.
see you next time.
All right, so if you loved today's episode, make sure you head over to wherever you listened to the episode today and leave us a rating and review. And also take a little screenshot and tag us on Chic Influencer. We'll feature you in our stories. Plus, we'd love to get your feedback and hear from our listeners.
Until next week, let's make Chic happen.